Guys, Rich here from the RCNetwork.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at my Axial Bomber, specifically the transmission. On my last U4RC race, I ended up blowing out part of the transfer case of the Bomber. Actually, there was one part that basically the bearing just exploded out the rear end of the transfer case, and thus I had no drive at all. It was just spinning gears. So with that, we're going to be replacing this plastic piece right here from the Axial Bomber kit, along with the Bomber transmission pieces. So I picked up two items from Hot Racing. These things are pretty decent and fairly inexpensive to just basically fix your Bomber from here on out. So right here we have the Yeti transmission case. Yes, there's a Yeti transmission case on the Bomber. We also picked up the Bomber transfer case, which is the unique part on the Bomber versus the Yeti. So these two items, I'm going to go ahead and get them installed on my Bomber transmission and show you guys what it looks like in the end. Right here's a look at the stock one. This is the stock transmission case. And of course we have the transfer case that just kind of gets bolted onto here. We'll have that replaced as well, along with all the gears. And I'll show you how it looks in the end. This should be a pretty easy install. I've got everything unpackaged right here, and like you see, two sides of each transfer case, all the included hardware, and two sides of the transmission case along with additional hardware. Now, one thing you do want to keep in mind, we are doing aluminum upgrades here, so you definitely want to have some thread lock on hand to make sure all of those threads are captured in the aluminum. All right, well, there it is. Got everything fully assembled now on the new transmission cases and the transfer case. You can just see how great this thing looks. I mean, it does add definitely some weight to the transmission, which in a sense is good. My Bomber is definitely not a lightweight, so this is a good add for this particular vehicle. So everything went together pretty well. I do have to say, I wish there was instructions as far as which screw to put where, but you can easily find that out by just simply test fitting the screw on your educated guess on the size, and if it happens to bottom out, obviously you picked the wrong one, go with the shorter version. So it definitely was not anywhere near the stock sizing, so definitely pay attention to that. I can tell you this, that the shortest one on the transmission is this bottom one right here. I believe it's like a 10 mil countersunk. The shortest one, or the next longest, is going to be this on the side, and I believe this one on this side over here. The longest one is here on the top. And as far as the transfer case, it was pretty easy. A little 12 mil on the side, and the two longest in the kit go right here, going through the transfer case into the transmission. So I do have quite a bit of hardware left over, and that's probably an option because the Yeti transmission case can work for both the Bomber and the Yeti, but I still have to test fit those and kind of do some trial and error to get this thing fit into the Bomber. I'm going to go ahead and install that right now. All right, guys, well, that's a wrap. I got everything back into my Axial Bomber. It's quite a task to actually get that thing unhitched from its chassis and working on the rig, but it is a pleasure to do so because this rig functions very nicely. Now, I did note on the underside of the chassis, there are 6 screws that go into the transmission and transfer case, 4 in the transmission, 2 in the transfer case. The stock screws are 12 millimeter countersunk screws, but in the kit you do get 10 millimeter countersunk screws. I do recommend using those. Those will not bottom out like the 12 mil will, so be wary of that. Also, make sure and use your Loctite when doing this assembly. But everything has worked out pretty well. I got a few test runs done on the Bomber. Everything's functioning great. No overheating motor, so there's no binding at all. That's always a good sign. And off to the next U4RC race. Well, guys, that is it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm off to the next one. Comments, questions on down below, and as always, thumbs up and subscribe. That's it for now, guys. Over and out.
Good enough. We got everyone. He literally passed 4 or 5 people on that like that. We're racing at the front between Devin and Austin. We're just killing it.
Almost identical.
That was that car has got.
Oh, and Devin's upside down.